Okay.
Please leave it on.
Okay.
A very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is day 6 of Industry Samurai Conference and Awards, and I'm your host and moderator of this session, Anand Pandey, editor, Dynamic Manufacturing India magazine. Today we have a panel discussion and very renowned guests, thought leaders of the industry to discuss a very important topic that pertains to manufacturing as well as many other sectors, and which is digitalization. The topic is digitalization in the machine tools industry, advantages and challenges. Let me introduce the concept to you, after which I'll introduce our eminent panelists and their backgrounds. The last 2 years have been devastating for global health and economy. India's manufacturing industry, already reeling from a trade war and market uncertainties, has been hit hard when it was down. Industrial activity suffered for most of these months in the last 2 years, and it is the demand for essential items and a hope for sharp recovery that kept the industry going. The one technology that proved to be the biggest support for the industry in these times has been digitalization. Whether it was for employee collaboration or for lights out machining, for remote management or predictive maintenance, digitalization of processes has proven to be a savior and a major change agent. Today, we are hosting a webinar as part of this conference where we'll discuss the advantages of digitalization and strategies for a digital future. Let me introduce our eminent panelists to you. We have Mr. Sreekanta Aradhya, Chief Expert in Industry 4.0, Robert Bosch, Engineering Services and Business Solutions. Sreekanta is currently is responsible for technical solutions and business development in the area of Industry 4.0. He's an electronics engineer with an MS in software system from British. He has over 28 years of industry experience in the areas of manufacturing, IT, and factory automation. Sreekanta has led global teams and has international experience of working in Germany and Japan. Earlier to Robert Bosch, he has worked as principal consultant at Infosys and as DGM applications and training at Fanuc India. He has won the Bosch India Innovation Award 2020. He's a regular speaker on current trends in smart manufacturing at national level symposiums conducted by IMTMA, CII, and other industry bodies. He is spearheading the academia industry interaction from Robert Bosch in the area of Industry 4.0. He is also involved in mentoring startups. Then we have Mr. Neeraj Singh, Principal, DuPont Sustainable Solutions. Mr. Singh is proficient in new technologies such as IoT and Industry 4.0. He has a professional career of over 20 years and has worked with marquee global customers across Asia, Europe, and the US. He has led large global teams and built ecosystems on digital and technology implementation. Mr. Singh engaged in areas of digital strategy, digital operations, IoT, AI, ML, Industry 4.0, and has been a part of steering and leadership committees to steer the digital and IT initiatives enabling business growth. He has been a part of various forums to exhibit thought leadership on these newer disruptive technologies. Then we have Mr. Ramnath BN, who is the Chief Manager, Makino Software Development Center, MSDC, at Makino India Private Limited. Mr. Ramnath started his career in the machine tool industry after the completion of his graduation in 1994. He started his career at the Mysore Kirloskar Limited as an assembly engineer. He joined Makino India in January 1998 as a service engineer. He has had opportunities to work in key departments like R&D, customer support in Makino India, Japan, and Makino Singapore. He has been nominated to be Makino India's representative in Makino Japan and worked in Japan for 4 years from 2006 to 2010 as member of international sales. He counts as one of his main career achievements the implementation of Makino Global Service Training Center in Makino India, Bangalore. This facility is unique in many aspects considering the machine tool services. The center also has an IoT center. He continues to be the member of several global committees of One Makino. He is currently heading the software division of Makino. The division is playing a key role in the company's global digitalization program. A very warm welcome to you, gentlemen, to our panel. I will start with the presentation from Mr. Ramnath. Mr. Ramnath, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Anand. It was nice introduction, and I thank DM also to give the opportunity to have joined this session. I also thank my panelists Sreekanta and Neeraj also to be part of the team to explain. Let me try to my best to explain to the members here about specifically on the machine tool digitization and points. I think I'll share my screen first. Okay. Hope all of you can see my screen. Anand? Hello?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay. As part of today's
we cannot see the presentation. We can see a different document.
Document only. I'm just highlighting what are the main points I have highlighted here.
Okay.
Okay. This is the main points today covered are only on the challenges pertaining and digitalization, how to combat the challenges, hurdles in the organization, and the impact of this on the digitalization. So I will go over to my presentation. Okay. So the main contents of today's are pandemic, effect on the business continuity, and many aspects are there related to this. The second one is digitalization. In this pandemic, I term it to be as a business vaccine. That is the only thing apart from the COVID vaccines what pandemic has taught us. And combating digitalization challenges, this is very important. Though a few sections of the society did well, and preference and impact on digitization. These are covering the main contents on this. Then I would like to explain on each of the points contents. The pandemic really caused a lot of impact on the production. The day our Prime Minister said everything lockdown, very few hours, many things in process, some process had to cross the time. It was a very big challenge, right from manufacturing, supply chain, customer support, many of the things. So this caused a lot of things, issues, mainly when it comes to the machine tool production or people using machine tools to make the components, where normal standards of the industry is for OEE, quality, stack time, many of the things related to the production. And this line, it's the line, assembly line, one going after the another. Sometimes some of the production depends on the output of the other. So a lot of things affected on the production side. Then whether it is raw material supply, all this. So that was a big production. We could not meet our customer targets, where the production will always be linked to the targets, sometimes with some contractual, commercial clauses which affects the sales also. When it comes to the sales, sales had a big drop. Customers did not entertain our salespeople coming to their facilities to discuss about the inquiries. No new inquiries generated. Then making the unit of our sales products more competitive, more getting inroads to the customers was very, very difficult. So sales was a big issue because many of them did not see future immediately, especially after the first round and the second round. Many of the companies, either they revised their investment plans or they put on hold and some even cancelled it. That was the problem on the sales side. Supply chain, of course, this is a big problem globally. Even today, the whole mankind is facing problem of supply chain issues. The supply cost of our spare parts from Japan, Singapore, and many other places went up, rocketing high. 3 to 4 times high. Availability became more scarcity for us. Even now, the automobile industry, many of the people who are attending this are knowing availability of chips to make their productions, sale of ready of these parts and all, cars, automobiles, many of the things have this one. Even in machine tool, when it comes to a small USB also, where all the manuals, everything. I'm taking a very simple example, not on the bigger controller. We had to change our approach plan of sending machines with some manuals, all these digitized things. Yeah. Support and service, of course, Makino India, we had a big challenge here because machine tool is runs like a horse and 24/7 it should be running. Once it is stopped, then there are many related issues which happens. Simple example is in our house, if we don't use any water tap for 6 to 8 months or 1 year, how it starts leaking or something. There are many related consequential effects which happens on the machine, access, greasing, rusting, coolant, component, chips. All these things have to be somehow maintained and things. Our customers really had trouble, and industry as such was not prepared to explain to customer how to take care of the machines for the lockdown effect. Makino India, the senior people and all, we came together. We prepared the checklists, procedures, what to do, all this, how to maintain the machines, how to keep it in a lockdown condition. Even if a battery is down, all the memory is lost. That is the CNC system what it has. So how to manage all this, a big checklist was made, and providing services. Not all customers, not all users will be trained to do the checks whatever we are told. So we had to take help of special officers from government to reach customers, or we had to do by video or AR, VR and all this technologies came into effect. It may be as simple as a WhatsApp video call or a Teams video call or a smart glass, everything we had to use so that the machines are kept in use for longer period. And the last one was the manpower. Many of the people were worried going to the field. They did not come to office, they were not available, their families did not allow them to go to the field to support. Life became more, some very few, of course, we are lucky that not many in Makino were affected by COVID, but still there was a fear of people going around to customers, all this. People meeting one-to-one was also difficult. So these are the main things which affected us. Of course, keeping the machines in running, both the machines which are used in our production and our customer machines was a bigger challenge, and sales, as I told, was more affected. So apart from this, how did we overcome this? Digitalization, as I term it, newly I termed it, digitalization is the only business vaccine what we can give. First was the communication. The day when the lockdown was announced and all, the things which came into hand, whether it for our kids, for our office, everything, there are many communication channels like Teams, Zoom call, a current Zoom call meeting, what we are having, all such things came into good effect. Many online checklists, making all this, the digital communication was in the forefront. This gave us, if I'm not wrong, it gave us almost 30 to 40% of confidence in the process management through this digital communication. So this was the business vaccine. And online monitoring of all this was also key. And people started to realize online monitoring of this is important. Availability of the manpower is difficult. And Makino, we started the online monitoring system way back around 12 years ago when we started the MAG machines. We had systems in place, more in Singapore, Japan, and European and American markets. This is much more popular, where we used our IoT systems and also customers using our online monitoring applications. They were able to do remote monitor, online monitoring of the situation and take care of this. This is getting more pace in the current industry scenario, especially when it comes to the machine tool. Um, Machine tools are like a pet friend or animal or anything, whatever we can tell. Some physical care also has to be taken whenever immediate care has to be taken for this. So monitoring of this situation, which is normally not done, keeping on the confidence on the traditional way of following all this, there is a big change happening in the industry using online monitoring. Next important is the remote assist, means earlier it in a traditional way, either by remote telephone call or by engineer physical visit to attend the machine tool problems are more common and more used. Even though if you go to the many in the developed countries also, the use of remote assist was less. And Makino, we had answer to this thing. We have already system set up where the customer's controller can be accessed remotely, sitting in the office in an IoT center, and check the machine status, everything, and guide the people online to support or take care of the whether it may be parameter, signal monitoring status, whatever we tell. It was remote assist is the thing. So the remote assist has become so common nowadays. Earlier we did not have many of the sharing applications like AnyDesk or many other similar applications so that the disk can be shared. The VNC viewer, all these things have become more popular. And now the technologies we are trying to make it as more common applications. Next big thing, what Makino, which right from many years we are good in, is automation, which also includes our turnkey applications, picture designing, robot interfaces, and we have. I'm proud to tell Makino was the first company to come up with the FMS concept in the whole of Asia way back after the Second World War II. Right from then, Makino has provided solutions for FMS systems and all. In fact, Makino was the first company to come out with high-speed machine centers for the whole of Asia. So like this, automation has come up more. Earlier, the automation was more focused on milling machine. But last few years, there is a big focus on automation in non-contact machining like EDM, wire and sinker EDM machines also. So a lot of automations have come up. But the integration of the automation to the normal work process is a bigger challenge. So we have come up with many new products like cell manager, tool manager, where with the automation, the complete line assembly or a cell. Sometimes some factories call it as a line and some factories call it a cell. The whole cell is managed, whether it's just not the machines which is provided by Makino, all the associated units like it may be a CMM, tool presetter, or many other line monitor. And sometimes the machine has to go from EDM machine to a milling machine. So the transfer of the tools from the tool crib, all this automation is done. And this automation nowadays, it is more common to use these functions and all on mobile is becoming more important. So I'm proud to tell that our department in MSDC in India is the key department supporting to develop all these automation tools. The automation earlier, when we started, if you take the traditional one machine, few robots, few machines with one robot or one machine, one robot, only loading, unloading. Those things are changed now. It is the required is the complete cell management. The cell manager on product what we are developing is just not managing the cell. It should be interfaced with the ERP system so that the production process planning, everything is taken care. Then AR/VR is a very key tool which we have developed, and I'm happy to tell we developed the smart glass system for the global Makino 4 years ago itself. This was very handy, especially in Japan and the US, where we had good use of this in the pandemic situation also. And this, our VR systems are really helpful when we are connecting to our IoT systems. So this is only very few points I have covered on the digitalization specific to the machine tool. There are many still processes which I'll try to explain in the coming slides. So when we start digitalization, we have come up with many challenges. Okay, it is the awareness. This is the first key thing. I see not only in the general industry across, even in our own company and our sister companies and many of our customers. When we talk about digitization, it is really tough for people to understand is this thing. And the second thing is people have a fear that their job is stolen and they lose their job. So what is the benefit of how they can improve? What is digitization? What are we talking about? What is digital? When we sell remote access, will the person do something? All this is a big awareness, is a key thing. It's a big stumbling block. Especially I am telling in countries like Indonesia, even to China some extent, and Vietnam, Malaysia, India, not in the bigger cities. When we go out of the bigger cities, customers who are in the small cities and maybe in some rural part of India, it is very difficult for them to understand and make them aware of the digitization, what it happens. Then many times we have to give the example of our current lifetime situations, like where we have all the Paytm, GPay, all this, WhatsApp, how user friendly the communication has come up easy. So we giving those examples, we have to make the thing. Then when it comes to the implementation strategy, even in India and in many of the places, there are many companies, I can say more than 85 to 90% of the companies, which still work on traditional process. It may be the employee attendance or many of the process is still thing. When we give the awareness and we make the people, when we take the, we will have to, many times we have to talk to the generation next, the owner's son or their new younger generation of the family. When they start talking of all this, then the owners become big alert and they would like to wish is to do something. But when the company decides this, they don't have an implementation strategy, where to start off from. This is a big challenge and this is a very big topic to discuss. I would not like to take too much of time of the members here on this. But implementation strategy is a big thing. All wish, everything is done, planning is done, but next come is the investment. When all the things are discussed, even this happens in many big companies, you know. And there are many organizations in India which have started like C4I4 and BCIC, CII, many of these organizations, including DM, all this, when some organization try to bring up big digital programs, all the things are worked out in the ground level and up to manager level. When it goes to investment, the first thing what boss asks is, what is my ROI? How big, how fast I can get the money? What are the digital changes we have to do? What is the process change? Like this, there are many associate things, but the investment is not done. Investment is not only on the money. The management does not invest on the manpower. Skilled manpower is more important in this. Looking for the good people who are skilled in this, understanding and implementation is a big thing. Manpower investments are almost zero. They ask the current people who are working in some of the other departments to take care of this. They'll have only 5 to 10% of the knowledge of their own process. Forget about the total processing which they handle. Then many things come across. Next is technology availability and adaptability. This is a big challenge for us. The technologies are changing very fast. The availability, we have to thank all our engineering team who are making the technologies. But to make them available locally for the customers at an affordable price is big one. Then comes the adaptability. None of the customers would like to go everything new. those technologies have to be adapted on the existing legacy machines or legacy processes. This is a real big challenge when we talk of the digitization, IoT, online monitoring, and the online system giving all the reports of OEE, all this. So this is a big thing. And adapting to the technologies by the human fear. For example, if I put it across, cloud computing, everything is getting more value added and more popular these days. But when it comes to the practical execution of this, when we go to a customer, we say online monitoring all these machines, the data is collected in cloud, and you can access all this on your mobile or iPad, wherever you are, all this. When we explain about the technology availability, everything, the ground level or the latest people, they say, yes, we will go for it. When it comes to the actual execution, the people will have a lot of their own commercial or legal bindings with their vendors, not to disclose this anywhere, not to have. In fact, connecting machine tools to the cloud systems, cloud computing applications, what we have, especially on the machine health monitoring applications, US and European customers, though we hear a lot about talking of all this, when it comes to machine specific or the customer specific data putting onto the cloud, there's a lot of hesitation. So we have to come out with some standby or other roundabout options to make this to happen, and real things have to be explained on the data security. All this is a big concern what normally floats around. Next is, as I already told, they have a strategy investment. Availability of the skilled team is also a big challenge. Even when we started digitalization in Makino, it was a big challenge for me also. The people who have a passion to learn new things, very difficult to find them, especially when it comes to the machine tool aspect. People will be good in electrical controller, automation, making some PLC programs, or servicing or installation, or even AMC like this, or machine reconditioning. But when it comes to the machine tool specific people around available in the market or available in the industry, the skilled team who can know about the total digitalization is very difficult, because CNC of until few 8 to 10 years ago, the communication of the CNC was limited with one computer for transfer of programs. Other than that, what are all the facility was required was done by a simple ladder logics on the controller or by an external controller, and to some extent monitored through the automation of robots or something. But now when it comes to we have fog computing, edge computing, cloud computing, transfer of data, IP address setting, the sensors, IP-based sensors, and sensors without IP addresses, making all this configuration, making it available, and then use the M2M technologies to transfer the data from the machine to the IoT center or to the other monitoring device. All this is a challenge. Then next comes is challenge of the team which can manage different type of controllers. We have all famous controllers from Fanuc, Siemens, and many other Mitsubishi or many other controllers. And each of the controllers have their own type of communication protocols, the data signals managing. So understanding of all this and helping for a digitized machine tool line or a machining line is a very big challenge, which the industries are still going facing problems in identifying the people, right people, or even training the skilled people for this. Then once we settle all those things, what is the preference and what is the impact of things? What customer prefers is simple, low cost, quick setup, which can cover all his problems. Coverage is maximum. This is the preference of the customers, which is very difficult. Technology comes with a cost. The running costs are high. The implementation costs are also high. It depends. Nowadays, of course, we have to thank many of the Indian IT companies which have come up with low cost things. But when it comes specifically for the machines where it has to be equipped with sensors and all, there are many challenges of cost. This over a period of time, only when the volumes increase, I think we can plan for something. But quick setup, as I told in my earlier slide, getting the right skilled people itself is a big challenge. Then comes the next is quick setup. It is really tough. Dependency on the technical core R&D people or the IT people is very big. Even today, it's just a coincidence. We are deploying a big application in one of our sister companies where the dependency of the frontline people on the software developers and the R&D team is becoming more and more. Dependencies are more, but the preference what the customers have with the limited investment they do, they want it, the applications or the technologies to cover maximum coverage. What they expect, they invest what the technical team asks, they invest only 5 to 10%, but they ask for high productivity. Of course, many of the industries, including Makino, we have answered to this. We have supported customers in increased productivity, not only in the process of digitization, it is only design, approach, turnkey, fixturing, tooling, and most of the things. We have given many solutions to that. Many of the automobile companies, I'm proud to tell, almost many of automobile companies are having one or the other Makino machines in their line, and people are getting use of it. When it comes to the efficiency, monitoring of this is very key, and efficiency use of the systems is become very system. One, on the efficiency of the systems invested for digitization, and second is the return on investment with the top management or the bosses asks. When it comes to the efficiency, the technology given provided will be actually very huge, but the usage by the user will be very limited. It depends on the type of user. The technology required by an operator or a supervisor or a plant head or a manager or the owner, the technology used, we cannot have different technology approaches to many of the maintaining of all this, but the use of efficiently using of this technology so that all the people covering in the line will be very difficult. So how best the softwares or the technologies or the process are modified comes into the picture, and ROI is a bigger thing. ROI is not an immediate thing which can be realized, but it takes a few years time, where definitely there are many companies which have realized, yes, what the technology, whatever we implement has given good ROI. Then in reality, what happens going forward, all of the things become system dependency. Instead of person dependency, it becomes system dependency. Of late, thanks to the technology, there are many cars, including driverless cars coming up. But end of the day, all the people's dependency becomes on the system. The natural skill and thinking ability of the people is coming less. This is one of the side impact. Even now, if you ask our kids, even our own selves, earlier we used to do additions very easily. Now we use a simple additions. Also, people go to the calculator and use. So that is the way the system dependencies are increasing. How we keep up our knowledge, skill, and talent will become a big challenge going forward. And the risk, what is the sustainability? Earlier days, machine tools, I am proud to tell there are machines used in field for more than 30 plus years. The machines are still running in the field. And by putting the new technologies, how fast the sustained use of these technologies is a big thing which questions may be very difficult to answer. Because if we see our own usage of our computers, when the earlier Windows, Pentium, MMX, all these came, the life of those and life of the current Windows system, or you take a mobile phone, Android, every 1.5 year, 2 year, new systems come up. And recently, many of you might have read that some of the old phones will become of no use. It becomes like a toy. because the current technology does not go with this. Then next is the data security and privacy. Here, right from the implementation and later in the regular use, there will be many people, external, internal people, in different levels, people are involved. The security is a big challenge. Even till today, big companies like Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, all these people are also still facing problem of security. But when it comes to the specific machine tool security, data security and all, it's a very big challenge. Many of the controllers have tried to make it thing, but not exposing these machines to the external environment is a new process. What Makino has developed, and it is getting successful. We are doing a lot of trials wherein the direct machine controllers are not exposed to the external environment at all. So that is one of the way how we are coming up with the challenge. But the mindset of the people removing of this security issues is a very big challenge. And the technology has also developed so good, convincing people with the available security systems. Each company, they have their own IT policies. Convincing the people on the security systems available is a big challenge also. It's an impact which over a period of time, I expect it to be normalized. The second thing is now, of course, a digital true way of using machine learning, AI, all this is coming up. There are true benefits also. But when it comes to the experienced analysis, the current systems do not have a traditional 8 years or 10 years of data or more than 20 years of data which can refer to those things, what happened and why this happens, analyzing and reasoning and making a solution. This is a very big challenge. So still, as I put it in the last word, here is the system dependency, what system dependency, what we are there, the dependency on the experienced staff or the members or the operators or the analysts are still required. So here, both the trend analysis and the current and the future market study, all this, all the things have to be clubbed to manage the current system. Earlier, it was not that the case. So there is a lot of risks involved also coming on this thing. So eventually, many of the people whom I contact, they tell, sir, you give us all these systems, how long this system can work? I put all the sensors onto the system, I give a system. They again take the example of either Android or mobile phones or computers. They say all the machines are good, machine tools is good, accuracies are coming good, but the systems associated for digitalizations will get obsolete very soon, because the next new technology coming up will be a superior one than the earlier one. Again, this is interlinked to the investment. So these are some preferences and impact on the digitalization. So I think I have taken too much of time of the members. So I would like to run through. So we should have all the business objectives to be aligned. Objectives are there where technology and data is required. So we should have a 3-step process of digitization in any of the things. And coming to the machine tool also, it is the same. First is digitization, second is digitalization, and third is digital transformation. So what is the difference? Most of the time it is difficult for people to understand the difference of these three. Digitization is earlier we all had handwritten, then we used to make a notepad or wordpad documents, making it in digital format. Digitalization is the process of considering how best the digitized information is used for to simplify the specific operations are used. So that is digitalization, and the digitalized one, how the business process, the process of devising new business applications that can integrate the digitized data and the digitalized applications is what more important. Three steps of digitizations we have to focus. So where we are and how we are have to go. So in Makino also we use this, and this is used generally is how are we horizontally integrated, how are we vertically integrated, how as an enterprise, how in a shop floor assembly, how are we doing in our machining factory, all this, and how about the people. Man, material and people management are also important. So whether it is the integrated, whether it is from the supply chain or between the company and to the other activities, whether all the managed from up to from the production sales to the customer service activities, integrated systems, all these are used different. The main challenge will be between different plants, different shop lines, shop floors, all this. How we have the shop floor currently, even now there are many shop floors where there is a low visibility and accuracy of the production progress, all these are less. So inability to trace the part movement or anything is also there. For all this, I am happy to tell that our department is giving each step-by-step solutions to this. So end of the day, insufficient information to minimize unplanned machine downtime, all these are there. Connected world of manufacturing, right from supply chain to the manufacturing machine shop to assembly to the factory, what we have to do. So all the different steps have to be followed. And then when it comes to the machine tool design, digitization, we have a lot of things, right from design, planning, preparation, production, monitoring, and after service. We have already a lot of products, right from FFCAM to EDCAM, EDWays, robot, automation, Mass FI, MP Max, ProNet Connects, iService, MMS, remote assist. There are a lot of digital products already used in Makino. And digitized machine tool business for a 360-degree approach, we should have the physical IoT systems also in place, and also the process, the admin process also, we should have a lot of IoT systems, digitized systems to be done. Smart machines, smart systems, smart monitoring, remote assist, remote control. Then these are the systems including the voice enabled machine interaction. We have machines which can work on voice commands also. Then we should have system alerts escalation either in production or in this customer support. Then the job allocation on the system on the production, we use APS, we call it as automatic planning system, and we have iService in customer support for tracking all this. Then data capturing and analytics becomes most important. So this is a small video I would like to show. Anand, are you able to hear the voice? Should I do anything?
Yes.
Voice of the video is okay?
Voice, yeah, voice is a bit low, but audible.
So this is the video of about how we are totally as a machine tool we are reorganizing. And when it comes to the customer support thing, again we have a lot of products in digitalizations, and the machine is out from the factory up to the customer support. We have a lot of IoT centers coming up in many of the regions now.
Hello, Mr. Ramnath. May I ask a
Yes,
question? Yes.
yes.
Will it be possible to wrap up the presentation? Some audience members have some questions that they'd like to put up
Just
to other
just last
speakers also.
2 minutes, two
Okay.
few minutes, and let me complete this. Okay.
Okay.
At the end of the day, we are translating all this to our customers' support and ensure the customers' machines are running. So we are using all the digital technologies for these predictive services. I would like to.
For your attention. We will review our cutting process.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Health is deteriorating, but it is still in working condition.
What care should be taken from our side?
we always promise the performance of our machines the best possible way. So, Sanand, this is the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ramnath, for a very, very comprehensive presentation. You've nicely set the tone and covered a lot of ground. Sreekanta, your thoughts. I don't need to ask any follow-up questions based on a lot of points that Mr. Ramnath has covered. Your thoughts on the whole phenomenon of digitalization and your standpoint from the perspective of your experience. You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry for the time. Thanks. So I think Ramnath has set the context very well. So especially talking about digitalization in a post-pandemic era has got a lot of changes. Especially in case of earlier to pandemic, there was automation, there was digitalization. Many of the manufacturing companies were going for it. But then there was also not a full-hearted attempt towards digitalization. This has completely changed with COVID. People understand the value of remote operation of a manufacturing setup, remote monitoring of machines, remote diagnosing of machines, and also a less amount of people where there is not much of value to be added from them. For example, moving materials from one place to another, from warehouse to the line and from line to the dispatch. So more of automation there. So we see at least a big uptick in terms of digitalization in machine tools, also in digitalization in the entire manufacturing industry. More amount of remote monitoring, operationalizing applications are in demand. More amount of automation, advanced robotics are in demand. And the other thing is there is also a good amount of upgradation of skill sets happening in the people who are working in the shop floor. Especially earlier, it was more of a traditional way of manufacturing, paper-based manufacturing, whereas right now the requirement is towards paperless manufacturing, people using mobiles, people using tablets, people using IT systems to monitor working. So that's definitely on the uptake, and so the skill sets also are getting upgraded. And the third important aspect is people are looking at manufacturing, customers are looking at getting better business insights from the systems they have deployed. For example, earlier maybe people were happy with just a visualization application which could show you OE. But today people are demanding whether I can predict when my machine will fail. Can I tell the remaining use life of a bearing in a spindle? Can I, with the current receipt, can I predict what is the final quality going to be? Will I be able to do a prescriptive quality? So such value-added business insights is what they're expecting out of the digitization programs. So AI, ML, predictive, prescription, these are very much popular or commonly used buzzwords whenever we talk to manufacturing customers today. So that's my initial viewpoints, Anand.
Sreekanta, I'll ask a quick follow-up question. See, as a chief expert in Industry 4.0, do you feel that in the past 2 years, the acceleration in digitalization that we have seen in India has been a concrete step towards Industry 4.0's implementation in India?
Okay, I could answer it not with an emphatic yes, but yes, there is been an added interest. Manufacturing customers are looking at, especially in Indian context, to go for rapid digitalization. But the no is basically because there's a lot of confusion. Clarity is something which has to come because people have to look at what is their vision and what are the objectives they need to go after, and what could be the use case. Because if we talk of digitization in a manufacturing setup, then immediately the manufacturing customers will come out with 1,000 use cases. People will talk of quality, maintenance, inventory, supply chain, automation. So an organization should first have a clear-cut framework of these are the prioritized use cases which I will follow, and this is the value I'm going to get out of these use cases. And that clear vision and objective-based thinking should come. That is the first thing I would say should happen. And the second is in terms of going across digitization, they should follow a proper roadmap, because people suddenly go into point solutions. Possibly somebody told them that predictive maintenance is something they want to go for. So try a predictive maintenance as a POC in a particular machine. But what next? So that is where I think possibly you should have a common homogeneous program which comprises of possibly a bedrock of foundation whereby you establish connectivity for all your machines, connecting all your assets, your automation, your utilities, everything should get connected so data is available. And once data is available, can you get information out of the data? Can you build visualizations out of the data? Can you add root cause solutions? That could be your second layer. Then you can talk of prediction, prescription, AI, ML, and such things. And finally, you can look at going for an service-based model rather than a product-based model. So like this, they should have a clearer roadmap. So possibly we also from our industry 4.0 advisory, we take up many such consultancies where we provide a clear-cut roadmap and approach, a proper definition of vision for Indian customers, and this helps people. But if you ask me whether there is been upkeep in the terms of digitization, yes, there is a lot of interest, lot of enthusiasm, because we also conduct many of these outreach programs. We do these Bosch conversations where we call a lot of manufacturing customers, and we also get a lot of inquiries in this area. But how many of these inquiries really translate into somebody implementing? That is where I think India is currently lagging. I would also like to take this opportunity to tell you one thing happening in digitization. There is a concept of lighthouse factories. I think you will be aware of that. These lighthouse factories are factories which are certified to give a sustainable economic performance uh, by World Economic Forum. So World Economic Forum certifies these plants. And when a plant is certified as a lighthouse factory, it acts as a beacon for other manufacturing companies in the path of digitization. And world over, there are 90 odd such lighthouse manufacturing companies. Europe leads in it with 30 odd manufacturing plant. China comes second. And unfortunately, India is a big laggard. We have only 2 manufacturing plants which are lighthouse certified. One is Tata Steel plant in Kalingnagar, and recently Renew Power got a lighthouse certification. So this is an indicator of as a country, where are we in terms of digitization in manufacturing. So I will leave it there.
Fascinating. That was really illuminating. Neeraj, your thoughts, especially from the standpoint of the SMEs, the factories, the companies that are joining this wave in the last 2 years, from a bigger picture perspective.
Yeah, sure. Sure. So first of all, thanks Anand for inviting, and thanks Sreekanta and Ramnath for hearing your views. It was quite enlightening. Thank you for that. So I think what I will do is to respond to Anand, I'll probably be at slightly higher level, and then you know I'll focus on the points which we didn't cover, and also points which were a little bit different, because I also agree with Sreekanta that digitalization was happening. It's not that it wasn't happening and stuff like that, but the nature gradually changed because of the pandemic. And essentially, I would probably say for our manufacturing, there were a lot of challenges, right, in terms of continuity and stuff like that. And three themes clearly stood out. One is, everybody started focusing on, reducing risk. Suddenly, risk became very high. So risk reduction, and there was a lot of talks around balancing of supply chain, right? Because that was totally kind of broken. So this was one theme. Second was
We lost.
I think we lost Neeraj, Anand.
Neeraj, I think his connection was lost. So by the time he's back,
dubbed out.
Yeah, I
Can you
think
hear me?
yeah. Yes,
Yeah, sorry, you can hear me, I guess, right?
Yes. You were talking about balanced supply chain when we lost the signal from your end.
Oh, really? Okay, I'm sorry for that. So I was just saying that was the first theme, that everybody wanted to reduce the risk and balance the supply chain. Second was technology and innovation, because I think with COVID, I think there were a lot of things which you had to do with technology. You could not do it otherwise. And third is, because technology and innovation came in, there was a totally new way of working reality. There was no new way of having different sets of people, talent, and I think Mr. Ramnath and Sreekanta also talked about. Now, talking about supply chain, I think basically what changed was that there was a increased need to have a visibility and accounting so much. I hope you guys can hear me, right? Right. Sorry, I'm actually in a manufacturing location with little bit of a poor internet, but I hope it works.
No
So
worries.
what happened was basically companies started to look very closely. What is the cost of input? How do we really become more, or when the process of reduction and all of this was happening, they also looked at the risk, right? Because there was also huge risk there versus cost. So a lot of rebalancing had to happen as far as the supply chain is concerned. And then I think they used a lot of these analytics and tools to be able to kind of ascertain that. So technology, I think Sreekant talked about. I think we talked about a lot of predictive maintenance, Internet of Things, artificial reality, augmented reality, virtual reality, digital twins. So all of these things are coming and aiding us in the entire process of manufacturing, right? But clearly, again, I think there are questions around the ROIs and stuff like that, right? Which of course has to be addressed separately. But then these are definitely aiding to our own entire manufacturing, process, right? And the third is of course the people side, and I think the people. Of course, I think is the most important mode. You can actually try out new ideas, building those use cases, maybe uh, fail fast methodology, where some of those new innovations can happen. So what the leaders are doing basically, so what the leaders are really doing is basically putting in all of these new things which are coming onto the table. And putting it on maybe four buckets. So having a very clear vision is very important. I think something which we learned. Now, once the vision is set for the digital agenda, how do you really engage? Who are the stakeholders? What is the ROI model? When do you get the ROI? Can we smart sequence it? Maybe the ROI model, ROI benefits from one initiative feeds into the second and third, so that at any point of time, it doesn't look like it's a complete capex project and you're just investing money for the digital future. So it should be a future which is more sustained, and then digital journeys can automatically start feeding into your own digital, what do you say, benefits and innovation and stuff. So that's about the vision, engagement, and how do you govern it. So the governance is very important, and finally skills, which everybody agrees. So I think these four pillars, and digital skills become more complicated because if you look at manufacturing, it is not just about new technology, right? You have to think about IT, OT. You have to think about how those cyber securities and all of those will work, because it's a very, very different world today. So all of those things have to be thought through and implemented. So that's, I would say, a quick summary, Anand, on what I see on some of the new things and how it's helping.
Thank you, Neeraj, for that 360-degree view. Mr. Ramnath,
Yes.
yes, you spoke about some key considerations of customers when they approach you for digitalization. Now, to share with you, the day before yesterday, we were talking about software solutions per se for manufacturers, and one of the big manufacturers said that data centrality of data is a big consideration for them. For example, they want their data at one place, and then they had the security considerations. For instance, what are the key considerations that you have faced, other than the fact that because of the pandemic, a lot of manufacturers want to hitch their wagon to digitalization?
The other main thing when it comes to as a machine tool supplier, any machine shop you go, most of the machines, it will not be machines only from Makino or from any of the one manufacturing company. As I told, the integration of data from different machine tool. I'll limit to the machine tool data only. Collecting all the data required to the machine tool and the related process. For example, in a line of machine tool, you will have washing machine, pressing machine, biscuiting machine. There are a lot of other QC tools like boring, quality systems coming up in the line, and then last is the washing machines. So the data of each of the things are too varied. Collecting all the data is one. So even though if you prepare a data collector or something concept of collecting all this, the point here is that data what is sent by each of the machines are in different formats. Only of late, last few years, we have the concept of empty connector, OPC, UA signals, all this. Otherwise, it used to be standard focus for FANUC and some other communication protocols, DLLs used by others. But not all the data of the machine is available through these protocols also. Again, the question of the technology is used for big data, but even the minimum data availability is a big challenge. Then how to integrate all this and doing the line monitoring? Of course, we have started to develop, because we give the total turnkey solution, we started to develop some line monitoring concepts also, which is what the customer is like to see. See, a supervisor sitting in the shop floor would like to see in each line what is the output rather than what is output from each of the machine. When it goes to the line leader, what is output from each of the machine is important. So the data collection itself is a big challenge. Then once we collect the data, mapping of different data to form a simple dashboard. Everybody wants to see it on a simple dashboard like the airport dashboard, which flights comes, lands, which flight goes. Like that, they would like to see all in a summarized view. But the detailing is thing. Next comes to the OE, calculating the OE of the things. OE calculating is, of course, that is the end requirement, but calculation of the OE depends on different cultures, process also, and depends on different process also. Maintaining this is also a big challenge. Then comes is the last is the data storage, whether it should be on premise or on cloud. When you collect all this data, the Makino, we started monitoring of these machines. We use a product called MP Max. When the huge machines were supplied to aeroplane industry, then Airbus, Boeing, all these customers, the data collected from the machines was very huge. Each machine itself, the data used to cross in GBs for more than just for 3 to 4 months itself. As you told, when we have a line of machines, then it becomes a big challenge. Then the customer wants it on mobile or on laptop. Then transferring the data to cloud. Again, all the costs. So we are working more on how to minimize the required data at required stages, modularizing it, and then see how best we can give the solution. That's what currently our department and team is working on this.
Thank you, Mr. Ramnath. Sreekanta, your experience of customers approaching you for digitalization solution and their key consideration.
I think post-pandemic, as you were mentioning, people are really looking at more of digitization in order to possibly have business continuity. And also, of course, digitization will give them better productivity, efficiency, throughput, and such things. Now, a few of the key considerations whenever a manufacturing company needs to go in for digitization, possibly I will take the top 3 or 4 in our opinion. One, which I already mentioned, there needs to be a clear management commitment in terms of what is the vision towards digitalization and what is the objectives and how they are going to do it. That means, suppose you have 200, 300 use cases, are you able to prioritize these use cases based on your company's journey? That means possibly one manufacturing company would look at quality as their important parameter because their products are having a lot of recalls, and that's where the quality would be an utmost thing. And you will look at possibly having quality alerts, quality prescription quality, and such things. So how is this use case prioritization? And this could be done internally, possibly by a workshop brainstorming. Also, it could involve an external consultant who can come in and do this along working with you. This is first key consideration. Second consideration is in terms of connectivity. As I mentioned, there needs to be a proper digital factory layer established so that you are able to connect not only current machines or current machine tools, you should also be able to connect all your legacy machines. Your legacy data also needs to be on the digital factory layer. So this involves possibly talking to disparate assets, disparate industrial protocols, disparate communication standards, but then you need to establish this, and there are a lot of solutions available for that. Even from Bosch, we have a solution called Device Bridge, which provides you this industrial connectivity platform. That could be the second key consideration. The third consideration is in terms of security. See, till you have digitization, all these years, the machine manufacturing or the manufacturing industry was enjoying security because of obscurity. That means none of your machines are connected, none of your assets are connected, so you are completely secure. But then once you start connecting, then there is always a chance of hacking. There is always a chance of possibly somebody misusing your entire machines. And this needs to be prevented, and security needs to be done at different layers. You need to have policies of security. You need to have possibly any IoT devices which you use should be able to be secure. They should be able to transfer messages in terms of encryption, should have TSSL standards. Then you have an area of your office, you have an area of your manufacturing. Both of these things should have a segregation. So this segregation can be by a firewall, can be by a VPN. So this has to be properly thought of and given. And security is very paramount because in office environment, if there is any issue of security, you lose money or you lose possibly data. But in case of machinery industry or machine manufacturing industry, it can cause safety issues with human beings. So that's why security should be a bedrock, and that should be one of the key considerations. How will you go make your entire connectivity secure in terms of having digital layers at different stages? That could be the third key consideration. The fourth consideration is in terms of skill sets. You normally in a manufacturing company, you have people in the IT side, you have people on the OT side. That means people who are very much knowledgeable about CNCs, PLCs, possibly programming, transferring the program, such things. And you have an IT layer who will be more interested in terms of cloud, in terms of data storage, in terms of servers and such things. So normally there's a dichotomy between these two things. So whenever you are embarking on a digitalization program, both of these teams should be brought to a common platform, and they should work together to enable your digitalization. It will also involve skill ramping up, because the OT layer people should start learning about IT skill sets, and IT layers people should have an understanding of OT layer, because OT layer comes with challenges. If suppose somebody says that my operating system can be upgraded, or you get patches every 15 days or 1 month, that will not happen on a CNC machine. On a CNC tool, you have an operating system which is 10 years back, 20 years back, and nobody releases a patch there. And so some of those key problems or constraints in each of these layers should be well understood, so that a proper team which can look at digitalization and can implement the digitalization can be thought of. So I think these were the, and of course there needs to be a roadmap in terms of what you are going to achieve and what are those KPIs which you will be tracking, so that at the end of the day, digitalization should not be a happy engineering. That means I love this technology, I love AR, VR, so I implement it. That should not be the case. It should, finally, technology is an enabler which should give you a business value. So what are those business values which can baseline before you start digitalization, and after digitalization, have you really affected a great change? OE today was 80%. After digitalization, I am getting OE of 95%. So can you do that? That should be thought.
Thank you, Sreekanta. It's very, very informative. Neeraj, from your experience, what are the key requirements or considerations that companies have for adoption of digital language?
Yeah, so I think I'll also kind of be on similar lines as Sreekanta said. So I think the first thing is basically it starts with business. It doesn't start with technology, right? So when you look at what is the business problem you're trying to solve, right? You look at what are those cases or what are those use cases or examples where you think technology can actually bring in that benefit in terms of value or in terms of either making it better or faster or cheaper or whatever. He gave an example of OE. So I think the important thing is to kind of have an appreciation of that, put it into a plan, which is nothing but a roadmap, right? You can probably take in few of those high priorities. So you basically have to build in a roadmap, which is short term, medium term, long term. And when you're doing that, you have to take care of the most important thing, which is the ROI. Meaning to say that it cannot be that you continue investing for a year without getting benefits of digital. So you should probably look at maybe smart sequencing it in a way that maybe a short 3-month project can bringing me benefits so that I can feed into my next project and third project and fourth project and so on. So building that is very important. And when you actually, the question is that yes, everybody knows you have to do that, but the question is how to do that, and that is where I think you have to start deciphering the different layers of Industry 4.0, like starting from the bottommost layer to the topmost layer in terms of like sensors to connectivity to application to analytics across the different what do you say stack, and then figure out that do I have the right skill? So if I have the right skill, then who's the one who's going to be my champion? If I don't, should I partner with somebody, build that ecosystem? And then you have that overall roadmap of a digital project, or you can say a roadmap which you would probably drive for better efficiency or better ROI and things like that. This is what I would say in a very nutshell.
Thank you, Neeraj. Now I will ask, my final question before I take up audience questions. Now, this is a question that connects to the theme of this session, as well as this is something that comes up in virtually every discussion as an important part of every discussion: the advantages and the pitfalls. As cliched as it sounds, it actually is a very important question that users want to know. That in the adoption of digitalization, and I'll start with you, Mr. Ramnath, that with examples um, or data, if wherever possible, what are the main benefits that, in your experience, customers have accrued from digitalization? That is the first part of the question. The second part is, what are the issues or the pitfalls that the users must avoid or must watch out for when going for this solutions?
Okay, right. We said first is the benefit. It is focus on the benefits. So one, when it comes to machine tool, I'll focus only on the machine tool thing. Machine uptime is what the customers look for, whether it is 98% uptime, 99% uptime, all this. So ensuring that the machine's uptime is maximum and not with a fudge data. All before digitalization, it used to depend on the production supervisor or the operators or the people, how many minutes the machine was running, how many minutes they run the machine. Everything was on the manual data. But that is not the case now, because you have the real-time monitoring of the machine. It is just not the machine on time, how much time it was in cutting, how much time it was in idle, how much time it was the spindle was running, how much time the spindle was running with maximum load. Like this, there are various aspects and all are online data, digital collected, and we are able to do the real-time analysis and later analysis also. So with this data, what the customers have benefited is, one is to have the real uptime monitoring. Then this gives a good feedback to the machine tool manufacturers also. If somebody comes back and tell my machine uptime is only 70%, 80%, then the monitoring systems what Makino we have developed, and it is so user friendly usage also. Why there is a difference between the overall equipment OEE and the uptime. Machine uptime is more, 98%, 98%, but the OEE is less. For what reasons the productivity did not happen? Now we have the reason capturing system, whether it was because of raw material input, program not available, operator not available, or power not available, machine is under down. There are various factors which can be clearly categorized to understand, so that the business side they can focus and do. See, we have a lot of cases of automobile companies, they get a lot of raw material from different sources. Why certain, with this data, we are able to identify whether it may be a quality output, whether it may be a tool life, or the many other related things, or the quality raw material input itself is not there. So earlier what used to happen was machine uptime, downtime. So I did not get so much productivity, and everything blame used to come on to the machines. Now people are able to categorize where exactly the cause is whether sometimes what happens, many of the tooling suppliers come up with new technology tools. For those technology tools, whether the correct cutting speed parameters are used, whether the correct cooling system is used, all this can be identified. When did the actual production increase or decrease after use of a particular tool? So to that macro management level of the operations of a machine tool can be tracked, understood, analyzed can be done. So that is the big benefit. Then if now customers are also benefiting by identifying their spare time availability. Okay. Then with the making of the automation, unmanned operation. So people need not depend on the operator. They can do it in second shift, third shift without the operators available itself. Everything can be monitored from remotely. Even we say we can connect the machines remotely. The supervisor need not come to the shop floor even to change the program and run the things. So all this is one. And next comes, if at all, if there is a problem, how to do. First thing is we have remote with smart glasses and other technologies where an unskilled operator from the customer or from Makino, the skill support can be given online from an IoT center by physically seeing and guiding the person in the field so that the machine downtime is made as small as possible. Second is the last video which I could not run fully was on the IoT center. We monitor on behalf of customer. Is something happening? It is just not the machine down alarm or situation. Even the cutting process, whether if there is spindle is taking overload or something abnormal happening. Of course, all this comes with a technology and a cost. Okay, this can be monitored, will be monitored live in our facility. We have IoT centers in Singapore, Japan, and Europe also. And all these places, I am happy that our own department has set up. We are almost 80% of the setup is done in Makino, India also. And these things are really benefiting the customer by ensuring the machine does not go fully down by giving an alert to the system. So there are different aspects what I mentioned, right, from machine availability, usage, then monitoring. All this is a digital benefits of digital things coming up. The second question.
Thank you, Mr. Ramnath. Sreekanta, good to see you back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure. I can hear you, Anand.
Anand, you told one more second question on this.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Please go.
Can you repeat the second question?
Yes, sir. The second question was
what the people should really consider
avoid. The second question was the pitfalls, the major issues that people encounter during this process that they should avoid.
So the pitfalls is they look everything in one basket they would like to have. Then, as Mr. Sreekanta was telling, we should consider a layer of digital layer is a separate thing. And most important is when they consider to digitize this, they should make it modular. They should not crisscross the functionalities but understand the process required. Then one thing, as I told, all should not be put it into one basket is again the data or the volume of data, what I was mentioning will be a big concern. The CNC machines still today, whatever is normally in use, will have standard Ethernet protocols also. But just by adding all this in the standard Ethernet, this is the first step to monitor the machines. Machines are connected through Ethernet ports. The volume of data collected is so high, this will affect your normal CNC machine process. Controllers will be affected. So please ensure that the proper speed feed rates are done, and then the connectivity, all this, and educating the people of all this happening. Because these systems are in such a way developed, the operator efficiency can also be tracked without making the operator know about this, what is done, what is the purpose, what are the effects of this, how we can improve all this. These are the things, and a separate team has to be taken care of this on the digitization process. As I told, MSDC is a small wing out of the Makino manufacturing. Here, machine tool people normally focus on accuracy and precision. This is the target of the machine, and next will be the how fast it can do. All these years, even now, many of the machine tool company focus is on accuracy, cycle time, precision, finish, all these things. But connecting, digitizing, monitoring, all this is the one which all the companies have to focus, even the customer side also focusing on these digitized things. Depending on this, their main business things should not be sidelined. So that is also which we have to take care of it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ramnath, for especially addressing the second very important part. That was very important, and thank you for taking the time to addressing it.
It's my pleasure.
Neeraj, your response to what are the main benefits that you've seen organizations accruing out of this process, and the biggest pitfalls that they need to avoid.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, clearly there's a lot of benefits. So ultimately, as I think I mentioned, so digital is an enabler, right? So ultimately, you're helping the business transform. And I think if you're looking at a business transformation, you know, either you're talking about productivity gains, quality gains. You're talking about improved maintenance, improved reliability. I think uh, we're talking about what do you say, supply chain efficiency improvement and stuff. So and then when you start going down, you get into practical problem solving, right? Say a very simple statement: reducing downtime. I think we heard about OE and stuff like that. Reducing energy consumption. Reducing or maybe improving the purchasing process, reducing the raw material stocks and stuff like that. So ultimately, if you do start doing all of those things, I think and look at digital to enable it. So ultimately, so if you just look at increasing the production, increasing maintenance and stuff, can actually give you anywhere between 5 to 20% improvement. Similarly, if you look at cost reduction, I think you can go into say energy efficiency, optimizing your capital supply chain and stuff like that. Those can give you maybe 10 to 25% efficiency, right? Just doing optimizing your capital uh, plans and stuff in terms of improving say safety, risk, statutory processes and stuff like that, you can actually improve by about 10 to 20%, right? So I think there are clearly very great and good benefits. It's the challenge where I think we get stuck is sometimes we get overwhelmed with technology and we start taking as like one big large project to be able to kind of deliver everything. So the idea is to kind of, again, as I mentioned earlier, to kind of divide it in logical chunks so that your ROI benefits start seeping in to be able to feed the overall transformational journey. That is something which we have to do. And the second most important thing is that or rather, I have 3 points. The second out of that third point is basically don't try to do everything on your own. You have to have an ecosystem in place across different functions of it, or say for example the sensorization layer, or the say IoT layer, or the analytics layer. So because you need to have expertise there, so you don't have in-house or whatever, so you need to have your ecosystem who can actually support you in that journey, right? And finally, I think the first thing is, as I mentioned, is ROI. Second is this ecosystems, or what do you say, partnerships. And third, I would really say is to kind of don't get overwhelmed with this word called analytics. Most people just think that I don't have enough data. Should I start it now? You can start anywhere, anytime, right? So don't have to really keep thinking that should I start now? Should I wait? Let us become more mature and then we start digitalization. No, sorry. I think you can start right away wherever you are and just improve from there. The maturity might be different, but the outputs are definitely there for each and every one of us, basically.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. Srikanta, your thoughts on and your experience, particularly on what benefits have your organizations accrued from this adoption, with wherever examples wherever possible, and what are the pitfalls that organizations need to avoid?
Probably I will take the benefits. I think many of my co-panelists also talked of improved KPIs as one of the key benefits. I agree with it. I also feel that the most important benefit which a digitization program brings to an organization is agility. Now, if you see any of the manufacturing companies, the CEOs or the CX layer, if they are looking at data or if they are looking at what is my OE today or at this current juncture, or what is my cost at this current juncture, what is the revenue I am making at this current juncture, they will all be working on a past data. Possibly past means I'm telling that maybe a day old data or possibly a week old data, because this data has been picked up from different systems and basically aggregated and brought to you. Whereas with digitization, the first thing it will happen is you will start working on a real-time data. So you can take real-time decisions which can really prevent you from making many of those problems. For example, your quality, suppose your quality is going down and you are able to get it in real time, you will be able to think on how you can improve quality for your next hour or for the next batch itself. Whereas with the working on past data, you will not be having it. So the first thing you get is agility. Even this agility can go to up to your customer center. It means on-time delivery, whether you are able to do. What is the bottlenecks you are facing in on-time delivery, and can you really work aggressively on that? That would be the thing. So real-time data, agility, and real-time decision making. I would say this is the most important benefit any decision program will bring in. Of course, you have a lot of KPIs which you can monitor, track, like OE, yield, productivity, MTBF, MTTR. That's definitely given. And the second important thing is you will have an organization level hierarchy which is able to view and able to get enabled by data what is needed by them. For example, maybe the operator may be looking at what is the cycle time of the parts which he is making. A supervisor may be looking at whether my OE of my entire line is good. Maybe the business side is looking at whether my cost per piece is within the required limits. So you can have a hierarchical or a tree-based structure of KPIs, and at each point of time, everybody is completely enabled by the data and can take decisions. So there's a complete one version of the truth, which is completely pervading your manufacturing company. This I would say is the other benefit, so that the entire organization is aligned towards a common goal or towards a common business value. Now, coming to the pitfalls, I think primary pitfall is to avoid happy engineering. That means you need to have a clear-cut business case for digitization, a clear-cut return of investment. Possibly, if this is something which the organization itself cannot do, it's better to go for an external advisory or external consultant who can come in and find out whether the digitization program will really bring a return of investment. This could be 1 year, 2 years, but then there should be a return of investment, or at least a return in terms of a business value there. And the second thing is, many of the organizations, when they think of digitization, they go in the POC route. And we have seen from past 2 years, a lot of people jump in with a POC because POC makes it very simple, makes it localized, and also cost effective. But then, unless you can scale up from your POC to an enterprise-wide implementation, you are really not looking at the enterprise-wide benefit. So POC rut should be avoided. Possibly, I'm not telling don't go for POCs. Go for POCs, but a clear, well-defined plan of when your POC will end and when you will scale up. That as pitfall is going for too many point solutions. That means people will look at OE from one vendor, possibly analytics in some other unit happening with one more solution. So you are not looking at an enterprise-wide ecosystem or enterprise-wide IT system which can connect all these different solutions and bring you value. So you need to have an enterprise-wide architecture in mind before you start implementing. So many times we also give this enterprise-wide consultancy that you have a possibly a ERP solution, you have few point solutions. How do you, in this current ecosystem, how can other solutions come in, join together and give you a business value? So that should be well thought of. And possibly one more pitfall I see is security, because people these days get IoT devices easily, have few of their own staff who are well versed in coding and such things. So they will try to implement a point solution or possibly implement a solution which can connect something, visualize something, but security is not considered. That means how this IoT device can be prevented from hacking, is there encryption of messages happening, is there a security policy, can the vendor who is coming in plug in this USB directly into a CNC system and transfer the program? Because I remember a case, I think you also remember, that was the first virus which was detected in the industrial network. It was the Stuxnet virus, whereby it actually started by a vendor who was modifying a PLC program, had put his USB inside the network. And this caused the complete nuclear processing of Iraq to fail. Of course, that virus was done by Israelis, is what is the rumor. But then such things can happen. And today, security is in such a leveraged or possibly very highly developed area that recently we had cases where there is something called ransomware. That means the virus not only damages things, the virus prevents you from operating or operationalizing your plant, so that unless you pay a huge ransom, all your machines will stop working, your IT systems will stop working. And you have excellent cases from a company called JBS, which happened 6 months back. It's a third largest meat manufacturer in America, and their entire operations stopped unless they paid some 10 or 20 million dollars. So this is what you are looking at. So security is paramount, especially when you are going into connected operations, which will be definitely the de facto way of industrialization. So you need to look at security from a very holistic angle. That is a sure pitfall which you have to avoid. Yeah.
Thank you, Sreekanta. Thank you, gentlemen. This was a very important question. A lot of our readers wanted to know about this. A lot of our users wanted to ask this question, and you gentlemen have really given very, very useful answers. This will go a long way in helping our readers. It is time for taking audience questions. I think there's just enough time to take one question, and I guess the first question from Raghavendra is very topical. He says digitalization is good in the journey towards Industry 4.0. How are the principles of TPS and TPM? I believe he's talking about total productivity management, if I'm not mistaken, integrated the system like layout changes, line balancing, etc. Could we start from you, Mr. Ramnath?
Both the things are totally different. TPM is, of course, basically it started from Japan and making more visual and maintaining everything on time, every time we have to do all those things. Okay. It is not a substitute, going digitization and maintaining the machines or monitoring the machines for physical activities, things and all are not to substitute each other. We have to have both. But specifically when concerned to the machine tool aspect, there are many coolant pumps, motors, many of the things coming up. As a TPM, the approach is different. So for example, if I use a spindle and it has to be cleaned, and the taper, it has to be cleaned, and we cannot do the monitoring of the exact cleanliness of the thing. For example, a motor is running. In the case of TPM, what they do, we put a fan on top of it. A normal kids play like that. A fan is put on top of the motor for people to visualize from far. Those are the physical. When it comes to digital things, this is collection of the data, summarizing, analyzing, and giving the status or of the total unit as running, and which can be drilled down into each unit. For example, in a TPM, what is, as I told, a motor is running, a fan is put. But if you do it in a digital way, we'll have to see the monitor, the encoder, status, running, everything. Then take the status of this to the dashboard, and so yes, this coolant pump is running. Okay, that will be the difference, but it is not both substitute. And TPM focuses more on cleanliness, a place for everything and everything in its place, all this. These two aspects, as I told, are different, and the approach, we cannot substitute each other. That's what I'd like to tell.
Thank you, sir. That's very useful. Sreekanta?
I would say that this question is quite an interesting question. And we come across this whenever we go for consulting our customers, because customers will be having programs of production systems. We have our own production system called Bosch production system, BPS, and Toyota has got this Toyota production system. That's what I think the user is mentioning there, TPS. And they will also be involved in line balancing, layout changes, value stream mapping. So this is something called as lean. That means where you make your entire line lean so that you remove all your wastages or muda and make your line to be completely giving value. So this is something as a bedrock before your digitization takes place. So we in Bosch, we have a framework, we call it as a lead framework, which we also consult our customers on. So when a customer wants to go for digitization journey, the first thing he should do is lean, followed by automation, and followed by digitization. So that's the way he should look at it. Because in Kannada we have a proverb, Mudikige Shungara Madadu. That means if your line itself is completely giving waste, the line is not balanced, and possibly you don't have any of those value stream mapped or anything, then whatever digitization you bring on it, it's garbage in, garbage out. So your machine itself is not performing, your line is not performing, it is not well balanced, value stream, a lot of wastages are happening, then there's no point in adding digitization on top of it. So I would say first, if your line is, you have a program of lean, do it off and add automation on top of it, and then add digitization. So that's the way it is normally done. And that's the way we consult and tell our customers also. And mostly I see Indian manufacturers would have done this lean thing long back, possibly 10 years back, because there was a lot of, what do you say, a wave of lean in manufacturing at that time. So a lot of people have incorporated lean, TPM, TPS in their manufacturing processes. If they have not done, better do it, then go for automation, add robotics, automate your manual work, and then add digitization. Then I think the value and the business KPIs you are going to improve will be humongous. You can look at possibly 100% improvement in productivity, 50% improvement in your quality and such things. Whereas if you don't do all these things, you will have only a delta improvement at the end of the day. So I think that should answer the user's question.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very informative. Do you gentlemen have some time to? Yes, Mr. Ramnath, you wanted to say something?
No, rightly said, Sreekanta told different steps to be followed. But as I told, it is not, once we say go to digitize, we cannot go out with TPM. That has to be there. And other, there are 7 pillars of TPM. There is a big theory behind it, and that cannot be left. That is required.
Fair enough. Do you gentlemen have time to take up a quick question before we wrap this up, please?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Sumit Khodikar asks, how can SMEs acquire a competitive edge with digitalization? Particularly globally is what I would also want to know. A global competitive edge for Indian SMEs through digitalization. Mr. Ramnath, is that possible?
I'll try to put it. See, the main thing what the SMEs would like to do is minimize their operational costs. So initial investment may be slightly higher in the process of going for a good machine, automation, and all things. But the digitized way, right from the operator or staff entering to the shop floor or entering to the factory, his work coordination, the checklist, what he has to be used, everything. It may take some time, but do it everything. But that will be a real good point when it comes to the global perspective, people seeing how organized the things are. It will help to go in an organized way. How the data is collected, how the data is analyzed, how the improvements are done. The improvements can be in hundreds of folds if the small SMEs go in the digitized way. See, now all we see is our own shopkeepers all around us. Everybody are using Paytm to receive the payments, right? This is simple, whether small or big. People earlier used to fight for 10 paisa, 20 paisa, 50 paisa, 1 rupee change. This was difficult. And if you see at the end of the day, as a shopkeeper, as a small trader on the roadside used to lose big money by not going. Now even they have a Paytm app. That is the digitized example, simple example I want to give. So going digitized end to end, planning is easy, implementing is easy, and seeing the results is easy in an SME sector. When it comes to a big corporate, it is really big. As Mr. Sreekanta was telling, we have to create a layer, too many departments. small SMEs can hire young talent who are flexible and understanding. Not the legacy, old, traditional people will not be there. All the benefits of the latest trends can be taken care, and that will be a big advantage for SMEs. So I would prefer SMEs to go digitized from day one.
Wow, that's a great answer, and that's really insightful. Sreekanta, your take?
See, possibly any SME who is looking at digitization has to look from two angles. One is an inward looking thing. That means you bring in these solutions, save costs, increase your efficiency. That's inward way of justification why we should do it. Then there is other justification coming from the outside. Now, what is happening outside, if you see, more globally, most of the middle stand or smaller and medium scale SMEs are going in the digital way. So in a connected global world, they are your competitors. And manufacturing today is not working on labor arbitrage. That means nobody is going to outsource manufacturing to India just because our labor costs are cheap. That was the thing maybe 5 years, 10 years back. Now with the increased digitization, efficiencies will be higher. So manufacturing can become even cheaper in developed countries. And the whole concept of Industry 4.0, if you see the thought paper which was published 10 years back, was to bring jobs back to manufacturing in Germany. So that means developed countries are looking at getting the jobs back, getting manufacturing back. So that means every company globally, small scale, medium scale, are going to digitization, and that is a threat to you. So how do you avoid this threat? You digitize, you bring in these solutions. So that's the thing they should do. What could be done for an SME, because his cost bracket, his pockets will not be so high, is he can look at a phase-wise journey. It's not that you think of implementing all the solutions together, do prediction on the day one. Think of a phase-wise journey. Implement immediate things which can give you returns possibly in the next 6 months. Example, let us say today I am manually looking at OE. Every hour I calculate availability, quality, multiply them and give my OE. Instead of it, you put a simple OE solution to monitor, so that what you measure is what you can improve. So once you start measuring, you can improve the OE and it translates into cost gains for you or savings for you. Use that savings to go for the next wave of solutions. So think of such a return of investment embraced phase-wise journey, so that you can save, utilize that savings to your next journey and implement solutions. But then a phase-wise journey and a digitization forward-looking thought process should definitely be part of SMEs. And the second aspect is the tools and technologies and solutions available today have become cost effective. There are a lot of startups, there are a lot of small customers, even our own solutions coming from bigger companies like us have also come down in cost. So cost for a solution is not an inhibitor anymore. So people should really explore, find out what suits him well, what is the phase-wise journey he will take, save, put that saving in the next wave and start going into the journey. You can't close your eyes and say that, okay, what I'm doing is today is good. You can get disrupted.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is a great message to take away from this very, very productive, incisive, and insightful discussion, is that if there was any right time to digitalize, it is now. Whether you are an SME or never. Thank you. That was, yes. Now or never. Yes, sir. Thank you. This was a very productive session. I'm really glad for your presence. I'm really appreciative of your presence. Thank you, gentlemen. You have a brilliant day ahead. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you, Anand, and thanks to Dynamic India Manufacturing for giving us this opportunity to present our views. And Anand, you have been a great moderator. Every time I attend your panel discussion, I start thinking and learning also. And thanks to Ramnath.
Thank you for the kind words. Thank you, Ramnath sir.
Thank you, Sreekanta, and thank you, Anand. For a long time, this was my first panel discussion after the Indian Institute of Science. I hope it was good. And
okay.
The good thing was everybody spoke synchronously, not contradicting each other. All the things was going good. Thank you all, and I thank all the participants who attended this seminar also. Thank you all.
And thank you for taking the time that you did for your very comprehensive presentation. And I wanted to say this, and I'm saying it now, that presentation should be shown at educational institutes and different organizations. It is very informative. You touched so much, you covered so much ground about digitalization. And I'm glad this whole discussion is on YouTube for posterity. You take care, gentlemen.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Have a
You
nice
too.
day.
You too.